everyone, in this video going to do something a bit different, talking about my biggest winners and losers that stand out in my memory over the years. And this is generally something that I don't do. I don't talk about dollar amounts because in my opinion, percentage amounts give you so much more information. For example, somebody says, I made $5,000 today. Did you do that with a $20,000 account or did you do that with a $2 million account? Those are extremely different scenarios. Clearly, YouTube audiences love big numbers, whether it's a big win or a big loss. The YouTube algos show us that these are the kinds of videos that people look towards. So interesting that that's the case. And really, I think it has to do with people putting themselves in the position of the trader, you know, imagining, well, what would it be like if I lost that much money or made that much money? Either way, for me personally, the most impactful loss that I ever took was a $5,000 loss. And that's having taken $50,000 losses since then. So how does that make sense? So back in my early trading days, in the first few years, I had a $30,000 account size. And I had an overnight position that I was planning on swing trading for 3 days in a Chinese penny stock. And at that point in time, I had never experienced a halt, a delisting, losing. You know, I had my clear stop level, right? I know how much I'm risking on this trade. So it was a big eye opener. Wait a second, on this swing position, I thought my maximum loss was X percentage. I just lost everything. So I lost $5,000 out of $30,000, which is 15+%, which is very significant. And my reaction was actually a big motivator for me because it took me very little time to get over that big loss. And really within the next 24 to 48 hours, I was feeling pretty okay about it and ready to move on and using it as motivation to continue to learn those lessons and get it back. And again, not getting it back in the sense that I'm now going to go aggressive and try and get it back as fast as possible, but saying, okay, over the next couple of months, I'm going to get that back and it's going to be a-okay. But that told me, okay, you can do this. You can be a trader, because that massive loss didn't really have much of an emotional impact on me. I went, I took a step back. I went out in nature and was sitting on the beach and reflecting on everything. But it was, again, recognizing the ability to get over it quickly. I said, all right, this is for me. I then, fast forward maybe 4 or 5 years, I then took a $50,000 loss. And that came from mis-entering orders. And my biggest losers these days, as I'm a more disciplined trader, is when I'm entering orders incorrectly. So this story I've told in the past, and some of you saw it. I mean, there's a YouTube video out there from the day after this happened where I described it all. And I forget when that was, probably sometime 2018. But it was in the cryptocurrency space when things were going nutty. And I had just leveled up maybe 2,000% or so in my account over the previous 8 to 10 months on the 2017-2018 bull run. And I was going out to dinner with my new girlfriend at the time, and I placed on a stop buy order because we were at that point in the cycle where breaks of resistance saw significant follow through. And one of my really aggressive trading styles that allowed for increasing my stack so significantly so quickly was being all in on resistance breaks, because they would see follow through of 5% plus. And just that was a gimme trade every time we hit a new all-time high or broke a key resistance level. So I had a stop buy set, and I went out to dinner and I looked at the price action at one point, certainly not at the dinner table, but recognize, okay, we're dumping and we didn't break resistance. Oh, thank goodness I didn't get stopped into that trade. If I had got stopped into the trade to stop buy, I would have managed my orders and limited my risk and placed a stop loss and all that. So I thought my order never filled. And then I'm heading home after dinner and thinking, all right, I'm all cash right now. This is great. I'm going to play this bounce and make some profit, because bounce trades were going very well at that point in time with the amount of volatility and bulls still certainly buying dips. And so I get down and I sit at the computer and I open it up and I see I have a full ETH position that is down over $50,000 in a matter of hours. And I can remember my girlfriend at the time standing right next to me and having that all sink in. And it was definitely a big kick in the stomach, going from I'm about to make some decent profit to I'm down $50,000 and I have no idea how. And it took me a while to figure out that I mis-entered my stop buy. So I stop bought under resistance, and then the dump happened after failed resistance. So entering one number incorrectly led to a massive loss. In the end, I ended up treating it like I would a bounce play. And fortunately for the volatility in the sector at the time, I was able to make it back within a few days. But again, it was another thing where yes, it was impactful, and yes, it was a lot to take in. Need to step back, need to reassess the situation and get my bearings. But it was another one where it was like, you know, I'm going to make that back, and just having that confidence that the setbacks were going to be easily offset by the forward progress given enough time. So those were some of my most memorable big losses. And it's interesting, humans have this negativity bias where we will remember things that are bad and forget things that are good. And it makes sense, evolutionarily speaking. We want to really remember the bad things to ensure that we stay alive and we don't eat the poison mushroom a second time, or whatever the reason is for remembering the bad things. So I can remember vivid details of all these different trades. And then I have some of my biggest wins, and one of them I can remember hitting my first six-figure day. And that was it was a big milestone for me, because earlier in my trading career, I had a mindset, if I can make $100,000 a year, I can do this for the rest of my life and have everything that I ever wanted. And so to do that in one day at that point in time was just, what in the world is going on? It got numbing. You get to the point where it's just, how is this even real? And I don't remember anything about that day. I don't remember what the trade setup was. I don't remember whether it was a bounce trade or a continuation bull move. I know it was crypto, and I can remember the realization and the room that I was in when I had the realization that I just made that much money in one day. But that's really all I remember. And it's a lot different than what I remember about a $50,000 loss or a $5,000 loss, which is very interesting. Another big winning trade that stands out in my mind was waking up one morning, walking down the stairs, seeing that we were in a dump, getting the computer, looking to play a bounce. And it was a 2-minute and 20-second trade where I market bought and market sold. And at that point in time, the volatility was a lot more significant in crypto, just in terms of you could dump 20% and bounce 20% in the span of a few hours, because there was a lot less liquidity in the market. So these swings were massive. And so I was able to market buy and market sell in a 2-minute 20-second window and make $20,000 in that 2 minutes. And again, it was another, I can then remember walking back upstairs, and it was fairly close to when that $50,000 loss was, and going back and saying, I just made $20,000 in 2 minutes. And again, it's that numbing, like, how is this even real? It doesn't feel real. And it's just, again, that's the point where it started to transition to just numbers in cyberspace in a video game. And it wasn't like viewing it like I just made, you know, a car in 2 minutes. It was just points, just racking up those points as much as I could. And that was a significant advantage to being able to continue to level up and just put an extra 0 on my order sizes. I mean, between a 6-month period, there was an extra 0. And the ability to psychologically move to that stage was not thinking about it in dollar terms. Because if I start thinking, I just lost a down payment on a house, that's when it starts being more impactful and it starts impacting you more psychologically. So the more I could detach myself from the actual ties of these are real things taking place, and the more I could just pretend it's just numbers in cyberspace in a video game, it allowed for me to shake off big wins and big losses and just keep the grind going. So those are a couple of the memorable ones. There's definitely a whole bunch of other ones, but just wanted to share some experiences. But again, the main driving point here is it's all relative. You know, $5,000 to every single one of you watching this video right now means something different. So in the end, it's percentages that matter as we gauge ourselves as traders, and less about the dollar amount. So keep that in mind. And in my opinion, try and detach yourself as much as possible from the real world implications of what the dollars can represent, in terms of just viewing it for what it is for me, just numbers in cyberspace in a big old video game. What are your biggest wins and losses? Don't have to share the dollar amount, but share the percentages and share the situations. I'm curious what you've all experienced as well.